Thank you for coming to Life 101 once again. We're going to continue to interview fathers. June is ending, but we will continue to honor real men, real fathers doing great things, as it is something that needs to be highlighted in our communities. We know many fathers that are doing good things, and we want to share them with you.
She looked like somebody's father with that haircut.
Don't hate. Forget the big chop, do the big change.
All right, who we got up today?
Today we have Mr. Tony Lopes.
All right, Mr. Tony, how are you today?
I'm good, and how are you?
Good. Thank you for being willing and taking the time to be part of Life 101 journey. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, at what age did you become a father?
Well, I kind of became a dad at an early age. I have a child who's not my paternal son. He's not my biological son, but I raised him since 19. And he's now 34.
Okay.
His name is Justin. He's in North Carolina. So he's not my biological son, but I raised him. And then he moved down south when he became a teenager. And he's been there ever since. My first biological child, I was 32. 32, I almost forgot. But I was 32 when I had my first biological son, which was Teo.
Mm.
And he's 19 now, going on 20.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, he might be 20 now.
I need you to get that together. I need you to get that factual.
So he's 19. And then I had Cameron when I was 39 or something like that. Close to 39. And now I have two set of twins who are 7-year-old now. Cam, sorry. My brain just froze just now. Chad and Chaz. Chad and Chaz is now 7 years old. So there's 5 of them all together.
Okay.
All boys, no girls.
All boys, no girls. Ooh.
What was your relationship like with your father?
My parents were never married, so I only seen my dad on the weekends. Well, when I was younger, I seen him all the time because he lived right next door to us. So my mom and dad never really lived in the same household together. They were always neighbors. They grew up since childhood, so they always knew each other, and they were always neighbors. And when they separated and moved to different parts of the city, I went this way with my mom, and my dad went that way. And I was at my dad's every weekend or every other weekend. So my dad's been in my life my whole life. I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm his only child, so
That explains why he's a brat.
you can say, I always had my way.
I'm crying.
With him anyway, not with my mother.
We can't relate to that.
LOL. One only child to the other.
Yeah, so,
There's a whole room of only children right here.
So
That's funny.
So I've been always close to my dad to this day. I'm still blessed to have both my parents at this age, and and I communicate with them every day, and so I had a great relationship with my dad. I just didn't see him every day, you know what I mean? But he was always in my life, and there was times I wish he was there more because I only got to see him on the weekends or every other weekend, and I got pretty much raised by my stepdad because he had more time with me. But my dad was always in the picture. He was only a phone call away.
Right.
If I ever needed him, he was always there. He only lived not too far. But my stepdad had a good influence on me also because I lived in his household. So, I got raised by 2 different men. And, they had their differences, and they started to get along as time went on, you know what I mean? But so I got raised by 2 different men, so I had 2 different upbringings of fatherhood.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
What was? Oh, go ahead.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned about being a father?
Ho.
Hmm.
Ho, ho, ho. You know, one thing I learned that you're always going to be a parent, no matter how old your kids get. You're still daddy, and mommy's still mommy, and you know they grow older. But it taught me to be more disciplined with myself and have patience. Because before Antonio, I don't think I had much patience. I really didn't have a lot of patience till I became an educator and started working in the school system. It kind of taught me how to balance my patience. But Antonio was a handful. He was a great kid, but he taught me patience is the most thing I learned the most of being a parent, and it kind of molded me and changed me also. You know what I mean? Because I had my little wild ways, and it was still in me. And once Antonio came, all of that came to a halt. So I had to change my patterns of life. So that's one of the biggest things that parenthood has taught me was patience.
Gotcha.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from your dad and your stepfather?
That's a good question. My stepdad was an alcoholic. So I always dealt with some situation with him when he would drink, and he never abused me or anything like that, but he taught me tough love. All right, so that I never had that from my dad. I don't think my dad ever spanked me. Actually, he did one time. I stole some money from him on Easter Sunday. I wanted to go downtown, and I stole some money out of his wallet. Only reason he spanked me because I lied to him. If I didn't lie to him, it would have been different. My stepdad taught me to be a real discipline. You know what I mean? My dad is a militant guy. You know what I'm saying? So he was tough on me also. But like I said, I only seen him on the weekend, so he didn't get to see all the stuff I was doing, the sneaky stuff I was doing. You know what I mean? And my stepdad taught me tough love, and he was a very firm guy from Brooklyn, New York. He didn't take no bull from nobody. He was very, very strong dude, even though he had his issues with alcohol, but he still was a great provider and parent. You know, we just seen a lot of drinking in the house. So that helped me also not to be like that with my kids, and you know, not let them see everything that's in life. So, you know, from having both of them, it just gave me a different balance and outlook, because like I said, my dad was militant and my stepdad was a street dude from Brooklyn. So, you know, he taught me some street stuff. Even though my dad was from the streets too, but he was in the military, so he changed his ways of being in the streets and things like that. So I just got a good balance of, like, my dad taught me about credit and how to balance my checkbooks and be more responsible with finances, which my stepdad didn't teach me that. You know what I mean? He
teach me that?
That's a whole nother story.
I'm crying.
So and to this day, you know, I still carry that with me, and I teach my kids that. Like, my kids know I have a motto that I say to my kids, like, without credit, you can forget it.
Right.
And I don't care how much money you have, if your credit's not in order, you can't have the things you want in life. So I teach them at a young age. Like, Teo had a credit card since he was 16. So, and he still has that credit card to this day. So I teach them that, you know, if you want to succeed in life, you know, college is not always the way. I know plenty of people that have been to college and they're not doing anything with their life. Just looking at a dusty degree.
I thought he was going to say, looking at you.
So, you know, I try to teach them about finances more than anything, because finances is going to take you a longer way in life, and it will balance you to have that discipline with you. So I teach them, once you're 20 and 21, I'm done with you when it comes to finances. You can come ask me for a loan or whatever. A loan.
I want my money back.
Teo always says, Dad, can I have And I was like, Taylor, you have a job? You mean alone?
LOL.
So he still gets to get away with it, though. It's funny because my dad gave me allowance till I was like 25 years old. And you know, when I became 21, I said, Pop, you don't have to give me allowance no more. So what he would do was put the money away from me and give it to me all at the end of the year.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? Or give me a check at the end of the year and say, here, I'm like, Pop, I work. I got my own thing going on. I'm 25. I think I got married at 25. So once I got married, he was like, okay, you don't have to get allowance no more. I was like, I didn't need it anyway, Pop. But, you know, that's just the type of guy he was. You know what I mean? He was always on point with his word. So that's one thing I teach my kids, you know. Be disciplined about your finances. Be true to yourself. You know, because you can only lie to yourself. You can tell people lies, but you ain't lying to them. You're lying to yourself.
Right.
So I try to teach them to be true to yourself, respect people. And I've been blessed because my children are very respectful kids. You know, they understand the respect level with adults, which a lot of kids today, I don't see that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I see parents being friends to their kids, and instead of being more parents. And it's unfortunate that a lot of households are without dads, or they're unmarried couples, and some boys need fathers in their lives. So that's one thing I learned about being a father, especially for all boys, is that they need their father in their life. No disrespect to women. Some women are great dads and great moms, but they can't be a man to teach a boy to be a man. You know what I'm saying?
We just had this conversation.
And I know plenty of boys that grew up with just their mom, and they're great kids, and they're great fathers also, because their father wasn't in their life. But there's always something missing. And sometimes it could be it turns into depression, and they don't show it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be mad when my parents weren't together. I couldn't understand why my parents weren't together. I was young. But as I got older, I realized, okay, now I see why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get to see both parents in different lights when you become an adult.
Right.
And you get to see what their personality is and that personality, and where both those personalities fit into you.
Right.
So sometimes you start seeing yourself and your parents from both sides. You know what I'm saying? Because your DNA is made up of both of them. So I'm having that issue right now with Teo. He's like, Dad, I see why you
why you do what you do.
Why you do what you do, right? Because I never say anything bad about my kids' parents or their mothers. I never shed that light on them, no matter what we going through. We can have tug of war through courts and whatever. I never bring my kids into that situation. I let them grow up, and I let them balance it out for themselves.
I think that's important.
And it is, because if you are a parent that's dogging out the other parent to the child,
Right.
that starts rolling off on them. You know what I'm saying? And they look at the other parent as the bad parent, which they don't really get to understand it, because all they're hearing is chop, 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 chop.
Right.
You know, they're getting stabbed all the time from another person, and they start believing that. Because at that point, they're still children. They're sponges. They're going to soak up whatever they hear. So I never try to put anyone in a bad light when it came to women that I had children with. I always kept our business out of it. You know,
That's good.
child support, whatever we was dealing with, back
You can
and
teach
forth.
a class on that.
and no, real talk.
No, you really could. A master class.
And that plays a big role as a parent when your children become adults, because now they have to figure out, when they become parents, not to do that to their kids, and keep on passing on that same energy.
I tried very hard to do that with Rayla. You know, not to put what was going on with me and her father onto her. She made her own decision. Like, that's still your father. Whatever happened between me and him,
Right.
between me and him, and has nothing to do with you. You was made in love, and that's that. Like, and you approach him your way, and then how we approach each other is a whole nother way. So I definitely definitely choosing
So my youngest twins, Chad and Chaz, you know, they're successful actors on Netflix.
They are
Okay,
adorable.
period.
If you haven't seen them, go check out
'em out.
Spenser Confidential with my
Ah!
So
Yeah, Spenser Confidential is dope.
they're not my biological kids. I've been in their life since they were 2. They're 7, about to be 8. And their dad never met them.
Mm.
He happened to have another whole life after she got pregnant and she found out. And he was married and had a family in Atlanta. And it just turned into a whole different situation.
I'm sure.
So he decided not to be part of their lives. And he's missing out on
I
it
was just
now.
gonna say that means he's missing out so much of their life.
So Chad and Chad's not my biological kids, but they're my boys. I raised them. And they don't call me dad, they call me Tony. And when they get older, I'll explain to them, you know, I'm never
Was
gonna...
that whose choice was that to have them call you Tony?
Now they call me Papa Tony, right?
That's cute.
But in the beginning, I didn't want them to call me dad because first 2 years of their life, they didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
So then they all of a sudden now here I come in Atlanta, and they're seeing me back and forth all the time. But in the beginning, they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because they never had a dad in their life, you know what I'm saying? And parenthood starts at the beginning of life. And when they start getting 1 or 2, and if you're not in their lives, they start sensing that. So when they started seeing me come around, they were like, okay, who's this guy? And I had a very firm, stern attitude with them, you know what I'm saying? Because they're boys. They were running around doing all kinds of stuff. Hey. And, you know, then I was back and forth to Atlanta for like a year and a half. And then I was going to move there. I was going to move to Atlanta. I'm glad I didn't because of the pandemic. But I was going to move to Atlanta, and my dad got diagnosed with cancer. And when he got diagnosed, I said, no, I can't go because I'm his only child, you know. Actually, I resigned from BPS when my dad got diagnosed because there was so much treatment involved. And now he's okay. He beat cancer.
Oh, that's good.
So
That's
they
awesome.
moved here. They moved here from Atlanta. And they've been with me ever since they came back. But when they get older, I'll explain to them that they have a biological father. They'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Because they're kind of figuring it out now, where most kids call their parents dad, and they don't call me dad. So they're slowly figuring it out. But I don't want to just throw it out there at them right now. I want them to just, you know, figure it out and be like, okay, then they'll figure it out on their own when their dad, because I'll never try to stop their dad from being in their life.
Right.
If he wants to be a part of them, he can. He pays child support. He could be a part of their life, but that's the only thing he does is provide as a financial parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as everything else they got from me and their mom. And, you know, I didn't really want to sign up for that. I was like pretty much done after Cam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I have Cam, who I hardly see. You know, I haven't seen Cam in 3 years, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him because he's still a heartbeat of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever differences his mom had and whatever she wanted to move out of state and keep him away from me. You know, I tried to go through the court system. Then that started getting confused, and there started being confusion with the court system, and I couldn't deal with that stress of it. So I let her take him out of state. If that's what she wanted to do, I said, go ahead. Because I'm not going to kill myself. You know what I mean? I've been through enough with my other kids' mothers, and then I had to go through this. And she knew what I was dealing with my other baby mothers, but no bad shame on her. I'm not here to bash anybody or her. You know, it's just that I have another son that I have to acknowledge in this interview.
Right.
And that's Cam. And unfortunately, I haven't seen him or talked to him in almost 3 years. And here I am raising some twins that's not my biological kids, but they're mine now. I put too much nurturing, love, and time, and money, and finances, and plays, and basketball, and taking them to acting class and
you can see it when you see the videos of you and them.
yeah.
You can see the dynamic.
Yeah. Miss Cindy said that the other day too. She was like, "Oh, they're so beautiful. You guys got a beautiful family." I said, "Well, thank you very much. You know, it took work.
Yeah.
It was some
You
work."
can see that. You can see.
And
Every good thing takes work.
Yeah. So, you know.
But they're very handsome little boys.
Oh, thanks so much.
And they're very talented because
Yeah.
I watched them more than once.
They are. Like they grew up in a studio. I have a studio in the house. Like, that's all they see me doing is music.
I will put in the name of the movie in this video just so people can
Exactly.
check that out.
They're so cute.
So, you know, they grew up around entertainment.
Right.
So now they see me doing a lot of acting. I wasn't doing that much acting before, but now I've been getting a lot of roles lately, especially comedy stuff. I don't know why the comedy.
Don't forget
stuff.
about us when you get famous.
Oh, I know. I'm never gonna forget about you guys. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah,
I will always be me, no matter what. I'm a very humble soul. I've been in the entertainment business since I was 11. All right, so the entertainment been around me for a long time, from working with New Kids, New Edition, and Mark Wahlberg and the Funky Bunch, and the Funk Effects, the Wonder Twins. MC Spice and I got an album
Uncle
coming
Spice.
out soon. So the kids, that's what they see me do. That's what they know. So it comes second nature to them. Like when they did the movies Spenser Confidential, they never acted before. But them seeing me on TV in the house, it came second nature to them. They're like, this ain't nothing. So I said, Chad, this is what you got. The other twin was shy. So in the movie, they're not twins, but both of them are in the movie. Because they needed twins because of the labor law.
Oh, yeah.
So they can only work 4 hours at a time.
I was going to ask you that.
Chad did way more than 4 hours at a time because the other twin, Chaz, didn't want to talk.
Oh, okay.
So Chaz, you'll see Chaz doing all the playing parts. You'll see Chaz in the background playing, and then Chad is more up front. He does all the speaking
I was going to
parts.
ask you that because I can see the difference.
Yeah,
I mean, just I don't know. It's just.
And they're
something
not-
I have to watch it again because I've
they're
seen
not
Spenser
identical either.
Confidential and I haven't
Yeah,
paid
they're not.
attention to
No.
that.
But I noticed the difference when they switched it out. I've always noticed, even when they did the show way back in the day.
But
Full
there's
House.
another difference why you could have seen some differences because they had to go do some reshoots some months later, like 6 months later, and they grew.
Right.
Like-
Oh, okay. That makes
Like they
sense.
had lost their teeth right after the set, so then we couldn't do no shots until they got their teeth back.
Right.
And
okay.
so they grew 6 months,
Right.
and for the reshoots.
And at that age, 6 months is a big.
Yeah,
difference.
it was a big difference because when we got back to the reshoots, Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg, big shout out to Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg. And when they seen him, they were like, "Oh my God, they grew so much." They're like, "We're gonna have to shoot the whole thing over again." I said, then they figured it out. You know what I'm saying? How to make it look. But if you pay attention, you can see that they grew a little bit.
I watched the second time I watched it. The first time I was just watching it because they were connected to you, and then the second time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, I see the differences." I was like, "I can see the." I was like, "Oh."
It'll
okay.
take a few times to watch it because it took us a few times to notice some of the stuff after
Now I'm gonna watch it
seeing
again and see the 6 month growth.
But like, they came on the set and tore their roles apart.
Right.
Chad did his roles like I taught him and trained him how to get ready for the roles because you know before when we got to each time we got to the set we didn't know what lines they were gonna do.
Right.
So we get to the set early in the morning, then we have an itinerary of what we're gonna do in our schedule, and then there's like a little paperback pamphlet in our trailer. And I'm like, okay, well, these are the lines for today. Chad, this is what your lines are going to be. Chaz, if you're going to do your part, this is what your lines are going to be. And then this is what Mark's going to say. Or I forgot the other actor's names. Forgive me right now. He's doing Black Panther in the movie Black Panther. But
I can see his face in my
Yeah.
head right now too. He was
So whoever the actors were,
he had the
You
fur
know, I'm
on
horrible
him.
with names.
He had to hold mama down while they was
He's Trini, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
he's
yeah,
Trini,
yeah.
he
The
was
big
Trini.
tall dude from Black Panther.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
How was that as a father working with your kids in a movie production? That
It was a great feeling
mm-hmm.
because I've never been in that situation to be behind a serious $20 million production.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I done traveled and been all over the world dancing and performing, but not
Did you
to.
know he used to dance?
But
No.
He used to.
oh, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother story. Yes, I did, and I was good at it.
I was good at it.
I was very good at it.
There's pictures out there.
So, you know, just to see them and that end of the production, really, I was so proud of them. So it made me step my game up because they represent me
Right.
and I represent them.
That's real.
So when we did our lines, Chad killed his lines on every first take, on every take, one time.
And how old are they again?
When they started filming, they was 6.
Wow, talent at 6 like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they'll be 8 now. So, you know, the director was like, "Oh my God, Tony," he's like, "These boys are better than some big actors I work with
I'm sure.
in the industry." He's like, "These kids are gonna be amazing." So, you know, once they got used to being behind that camera, I think now they want more work
Right.
because they were gonna do a Disney movie right after that.
Oh.
That we had did auditions for at the Encore Casino. And they got picked for it, and then the pandemic came and shut the production down of it. So I think right now they're regrouping the script, and maybe they'll get called back for it, maybe not.
Well,
But-
kudos to you as a black father, having your children in movies and doing the thing, and you know, seeing that it's possible to be successful in black in Boston.
Yeah, well, one thing we learned in this industry that black kids are very wanted in the industry because black people are the number one consumers of merchandise.
Yeah.
So like
That's true.
Target, Gap, what's the other? Walmart. All these big companies. If you really look at them, there's a lot of black kids in them because they use them for marketing strategies.
Right.
So we're the number one consumers, and we spend the most money.
Mm.
Probably why we don't have a lot of money.
Right.
But not to say that black people don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, no, but that makes
What is your
sense.
biggest fear with having children in the industry?
One thing that I learned, I don't let them out my sight.
That's very important.
I never let my children, like when they was on the set, the director sat Chad on his lap, and I was like, "Peter Berg, I don't know you like that, and I think you should take my kid off your lap." And this is
had that conversation with
this
you.
is a big super Hollywood producer that I had to say this to,
Right.
and I had to do it in a serious face to let him know that I don't play with my children.
Right.
I don't
You
let
don't
them.
play with other people's children.
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
but you know,
Definitely not your own.
me being in the industry, I seen a lot of stuff at a young age.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I seen a lot, and the only reason why the things that I seen because the parents wasn't involved. They let their parents be with these guys, and they're in the industry, and especially with girls. I've seen girls with grown men in the industry that shouldn't been with them at that time. You know what I mean? And it's all because
And at the time, they didn't see nothing wrong.
right,
we are not
exactly.
singing that.
No,
I had to
no.
remix it. They got the point. They got the
But you're
point.
absolutely right, because some parents get caught up in it. They get starstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be like, "Oh, my child's gonna be working with such and such,
Right.
and da 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 da, and he can stay there with him. I'll be back to get him." No, that's one thing. That's a no to me. I never let my children out my sight. When they filmed that movie, I was behind the set, on every set, right
That's
there
real.
with them.
That's
I was
real.
on every take. I'm right there with Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg and whoever else was being in the movie. I was right there. I did not let them out my sight.
That's real.
So when they had to switch roles, I'll send the other twin up,
Right.
and I'll let his mother sit in the set for a little bit until she couldn't take it. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing in the industry, women get taken advantage of, and I see it. I've seen it a lot. So I try to be firm with whoever I'm dealing with when it comes to children. Now, we're educators. We work with children our whole life, so it's very important for parents, especially black parents, if you're going to get your kids in this industry, to be very aware of the surroundings and the contracts that you're signing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My kids didn't get the fairest contract they should have had because we didn't really look at it how we were supposed to, but it was fair. And for their first job, they get royalties every quarter. Okay, and then that money goes up for college for them.
Right.
And as long as that movie's showing on Netflix, they're gonna get royalties for the rest of their life.
What's the name of the movie again?
Spenser Confidential.
Spenser Confidential. Keep
Shameless
on watching
plug.
it. Watch it for 20 more years from now. So
Them babies need college money.
hey, listen. They're not doing bad. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's right.
But like I said, for that first movie, it wasn't a bad contract. And I think that's because Mark and I grew up and we know each other. And, rest to Mark Wahlberg's mom, Miss Wahlberg, rest her soul. We grew up since childhood. Know Mark since he was a little kid. Known his brothers and Donnie. And
I'm trying to get on Ion Television. Positively entertaining,
don't have no pose on that side. You got to call Boston Casting for that. Shout out to Boston Casting. The Boston Casting is a really great casting company out of Boston. So if you want to get your children involved in this type of industry,
What if your child is 23?
you can still deal with Boston Casting. There's no age limit to Boston Casting. Boston Casting is one of the best casting companies around, and they do basically all the movies that come here. They're control of all the locations, the wardrobe, the trailers, and all of those things. So it's funny, like the first day we shot, Mark and I had some differences.
No.
And the first day that we shot the movie, they had double trailers. The boy had a trailer of their own, but they were like small trailers with just a bench and a bathroom and a mirror. But they could walk on both sides of their trailer, so it was big to them.
Yeah.
But after me and Mark had spoke after that first day, and then they came back for their reshoot on the other set, they had a whole different trailer. The trailer looked like somebody's house. So then I was like, okay, that's what's up. So, they really took care of us on the set. The boys had a wonderful time because they got to get everything they wanted. The people like, what you want to eat? I want cheeseburgers and hot dogs and ice cream. It's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
They ate, that's what they want. They went and got it. You know what I'm saying?
They want the actors happy.
Yeah.
Right.
They took very good care
And
of
Tony's
them.
like, they need some apples in that meal.
Yeah, exactly. But I let them enjoy it because I didn't want it to be like it's more work than anything.
Right. You want them to be able to have fun.
So
while
now
doing what
they're
do.
ready to do a next movie because it's been like 2 years now.
Yeah.
So now they're like, I'm ready to do my movie because they see me doing movies now and doing video appearances. I've been doing some acting and some video appearances lately, and they're seeing a lot of that. So now they're. And then I do stuff in the house with them on camera so I can just keep them active in it. And Chad, I had a situation with Chad the other day. I was playing with him and then he did this acting thing, like I bumped his head and I said, Chad, your head didn't even touch the ground. And he did this big acting scene for his mother. And I was looking at him like, dude.
So he's all in.
I was like, cut.
Cut.
Because I never said action.
Never.
But Chad, he's just such a he's a handful. And I said, dude, you can't fake stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? If you on set and you need to do that, then you do it. But he gets himself into a character role and he runs with it. Yeah, he runs with it. So it's always fun to see them grow up, and I hope to continue to keep them moving in the business and because now they're getting some commercial stuff too through some Boston modeling agency, Boston modeling agency out of Newberry Street. They're on them now, so now they're trying to get them into Gap and Target whatever. Adidas, that's right. Adidas is on them right now. So I was like, yeah, Adidas.
Oh, that's his favorite.
We need
Hence.
we want
need
that
that.
sponsorship. We want Adidas
Yeah,
sponsorship.
that's what he rocks.
So you know, that's what my boys are trying to get me to wear Nikes. They brought me a pair for Christmas, and I wore them one time, and they were comfortable though. I'll tell you that. I was like, oh. But I went to a video shoot, and somebody see me with them on, and like, what are you doing with Nikes on? I said, man, my kids brought them. Had to use my kids for that one.
There's a Boston era that you know nothing about that has to do with Adidas and Nikes. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
That's
young,
a Boston thing.
the younger generation is slowly
wear
growing
whatever.
out of it.
They wear whatever with up.
Yeah, they wear whatever. They're growing up 3 stripes to the death. And that's just a Boston thing. A Boston-Detroit thing is only really big in Boston and Detroit. We sell the most Adidas out of any city in this country. We sell the most shell toes and top 10s out of any city in the United States.
See, I'm on the Nike side. I don't know about Adidas out
Well,
here.
you know, that's different generation. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I come from Four Corners, and Four Corners, we lived by threes. We started the threes. So if you know your history, you'll know that the threes came from Four Corners, and then it just turned into a big Boston thing, and we stand by it now. Now you got celebrities and basketball players and football players. Everybody's throwing up threes because they know what it represents. But I come from the beginning days when it first started, and I can say that.
I can see.
So yeah.
Well, we appreciate you. That was some great knowledge. Definitely learned a lot.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for participating. Because it was more difficult to get dads to talk than it was to get the moms to talk.
Yeah.
The moms were like, sure, let me talk.
Of course,
And then
I'm
it's
sure.
like the dads were a little bit more hesitant. And we have some dads that are coming up later on after the end of the month. But it was definitely more difficult because people, they weren't sure if we were trying to bash them.
See, you took the words out of my mouth, because some dads don't want to be asked the wrong question.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Me, you can ask me the question. I'm going to give it to you whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, we could tell.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give
We
you...
picked a couple of other people you know, and when you watch it, you're going to be like, oh, she knew who to pick.
Yeah. So, you know, there's not going to be a lot of dads that want to step up and say what they need to say, but that's the thing. They don't want to be asked a bashing question, which when you're doing an interview, there's no such thing as a bashing question.
I do have one last question for you.
Especially if you're a public figure.
Right.
If you're a public figure and you don't want to be asked a question in an interview, don't do it.
Right.
Because an interviewer should always be able to ask a public question, especially if it's already out there in the air. And, you know, not saying about ask R. Kelly questions and stuff like that, but those are questions that need to be asked. And, you know, that's why R. Kelly got asked so many questions, because he's a public figure and he got mad in interviews.
So I have 2 more questions. Why was it important for you to step up at such a young age, even though the person wasn't biologically yours? And the part 2 to that question is, what advice would you give to young up-and-coming fathers or people who are young fathers?
The first time I stepped up in parenthood, I think I was 19, and I knew the father. We all went to the same high school. Shout out to Madison Park High School.
I was gonna say, here comes a shout out.
Class of '89, yeah. Same thing, right. But we all went to the same high school, and she got pregnant by this kid, and he decided not to be a part of him. And her and I were like kind of neighbors, and we would walk to the bus every morning, and we became good friends. Oh, I can't help it. I got a mosquito bite. Nothing else.
I'm crying.
So anyway, I just stepped up to the plate because we were good friends, and then we ended up dating. And I wasn't no plans for me to become a parent or raise another child that wasn't mine. It just came second nature to me. And I think at that time, I was ready to become a parent at 19 years old. And that was my opportunity to learn how to be a parent. And then he became my child. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up raising him. And the flip side of it, or not even the flip side of it, but just stepping up to the plate to do that is just something that's in my nature. If they become a part of my life, it's only right that I be a part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm around them all the time. I'm dealing with their mom. What's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So the good blessed thing for me was I never had to really deal with fathers outside of that situation because they didn't want to be in the situation. So it was a better movement for me, an adjustment to be in a relationship with someone like that who didn't have a father who was probably hating because I was taking care of their child more than them, or anything like that. You know what I mean? I have children that have siblings, and I'm cool with their dads. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been the type of person to be selfish. You know what I'm saying? I might be selfish to myself, but not when it comes to my children or dealing with other people or dealing with relationships. I've never been a selfish person. Some people might say some other things, but I got my opinion to voice to my stuff, my situation. But I've never regretted being a parent to a child that wasn't my biological children or child. And you know, down the road you get your points for that. I've got my blessings and things like that and that nature because of what I do. And I thank my blessings every day. They're not all the blessings that I want, but I can't be ungrateful. There's a lot of people doing way less than what I'm doing on a smaller scale, and I'm always grateful for my blessings. So if I can pass on blessings to anyone that's close to me, that's my job to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll leave here feeling good about myself. You know what I mean? It's all about leaving legacy, and that's one thing that I'm big on is leaving a legacy to my children, whether they're mine or not. If they learned something from me and carry that into their adulthood, that's part of my legacy. That's something that they will always remember, and they will carry that on to their generation or next generation, and it becomes a part of their DNA.
Yeah, that's what's up. And what advice would you give to up and coming fathers or young fathers?
I see a lot of young fathers today that don't put the time into their children like they should. Time is the most important thing. It's not about money or gifts. It's about time. And if you don't put that time into them children, you're gonna regret it later in life. So, you know, all them Jordans and all the money and bikes and PlayStation, that's not important to children. They love to have it, but time is the most important thing that you can give your child, because you can never get it back. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I haven't seen my son in 3 years. I'm never going to get those 3 years of life from him. I've been to his one birthday party of his, and he's 13 now. You know what I'm saying? I can never get those birthdays back again. You know what I'm saying? So time is the most important thing to children. You have to put the time in. You know, and then another thing is, you can't be out here bashing your baby mama because she won't do this and do that. If you're not complying to some of the things that she wants done, of course she's going to be a certain way. Or you can't see your son or your daughter, and I'm going to keep her, she's mine. And when it gets to those battles, those are the battles you don't want to get into. Because once you get into that probate court, it's a whole different situation, and then they control the situation. And I never want to be in that situation again, ever again, where a court system has to tell me how to be a parent, and how to provide for.
Because they don't have the same understanding as real folks.
But it has to be in place, because if it wasn't in place, a lot of parents and mothers and children wouldn't get what they deserve. Because the guy, or even mothers, there's mothers that be put on child support, as the percentage is very small, but that situation is a whole different. It changes the dynamics of parenting. And if the two parents don't balance that out, it just turns into chaos. It's only a check at that point. You know what I mean? And I never want to be just a check. I always want to be a part of that check.
Right.
A check mark that I'm doing what I need to do to cover areas of my end. So my advice to up and coming parents, even females, guys, women, always put time into your children. Your children are your investment. And always put time into them, because that time is so important, because they grow so fast.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you notice, every time you turn around, you're buying them new clothes. They're growing out everything. That means they're growing.
Right.
We may not see it like that every day, but they are growing every day, and their brains are developing different, and they soak up everything that you put in their brain, because they're sponges. So always put the time in. Don't make money an essential part of being a parent. You know what I mean? Because that's when it breaks down the relationships, and kids start turning away from their parents or their fathers or their mothers. And we don't need that in this generation. The next generation needs to, really put time into them, because, like I said, I come from an old-fashioned background where parents put time into their children. We got beatings. No, not to say, you know what I'm saying? My parents spanked me when we didn't do right. They didn't play with us, but we learned.
I got spankings too.
But we
That's a lie. That's a lie.
But we learned how not to do things that we wasn't supposed to be doing through those spankings.
Right.
Now you just spank. 911's called automatic on this phone.
She did try that. I just want to tell you. When I said I was going to beat her, she tried to call 911.
Listen, in our days we had phone cords.
That you got beat with.
You didn't want a part of that phone cord. Only thing you wanted to do was unplug it from the socket. That's the only thing you wanted to do with that phone. But you didn't want no other parts of that phone, because that phone could be a part of your situation. So, we didn't have no time to call 911. That was a no-no. But, blessings to the next generation of parents, and just take your time and realize that child didn't ask to be here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You guys did that together.
Right.
And just because you guys went sour doesn't mean the children has to be raised in a sour environment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like they say, the apple don't fall far from the tree. But we got red and green apples.
And some yellow ones.
And some yellow ones. Right? The green one is the sour one.
Yeah.
And the green represent money. So we'd never want to represent the green apple to be the foundation of our upbringing. So that's
that was great.
Anything else you want to say overall?
Shout out to Boston. You too, we love you. And you guys for having me as a guest. I'll be glad to welcome me with open arms, you know what I mean, for the next interview. So
of course.
We've been friends for a very long time.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Tony. We appreciate you always, and thank you for being a proud Black father.
Wait,
thanks
could you
so
say
much.
Like, subscribe, and share? Because they might listen to you.
Like, subscribe, and share.
And comment.
Make
Thank you.
sure you do that. I'll see you guys on the next interview.